two, one, action.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the December 5th, 2024 business meeting of the Croton Harmon Union School District. Second that? No, we just, please rise. Please rise for the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Born and unborn.
Item 1.3, approval of the agenda. Recommended action be it resolved, the Board of Education hereby approves the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second. On the question? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Item 2.1, the President's Report. I want to thank everybody in advance for being here and taking time out of your busy lives to come and address your thoughts and your concerns with the Board of Education. This is our last open meeting of this 2024 year. So I want to thank my fellow board members for your service on the board and all the time that you give to doing the work that we do here and outside of here. And to Sarah and Neil, thank you for the work that you do for the district on other boards related to our district. I want to thank the administrative team and the entire CHUFSD community for all that you do for our students and for being brave and thinking about the future in terms of everything that we're doing. And I want to thank our community for coming out and informing our decisions. And that's it. That's my president's report. We will now move on to item 2.2, hearing of the public. I'm going to read the preamble to this. So we believe that the effective dialogue can occur only in an atmosphere of mutual respect. Therefore, it is the policy of the Croton Harmon Board of Education to conduct its business at meetings and in all communications, written and oral, in a manner that models respect and civility. We invite and expect members of the public to share this commitment with us. New York State law requires that the work of school boards be conducted before the public, since school board meetings are not meant to be a meeting with the public, but rather a meeting held in view of the public. The best way for the Croton Harmon School District residents to communicate with the BOE is at our, monthly Meet the BOE community meetings scheduled throughout the year through Ask the BOE or emailing us at boe@chufsd.org. We are also happy to meet individually with residents to discuss concerns. As part of the monthly business meetings, the Croton Harmon Board of Education has chosen to provide an opportunity for community members to share brief comments during hearing of the public, sections regarding issues affecting our schools. In an effort to be efficient and productive, there's like a typo in here somewhere, I'm sorry. Comments particularly, okay. It doesn't actually say this on the agenda, but regarding the comments, particularly on agenda items, are welcome if a community member wishes to address non-agenda items. The opportunities listed above may be more productive. Individual speakers will be limited to 3 minutes. Speakers should state their name and Croton Harmon School District address. All comments must be addressed to board trustees. Comments about a specific person, staff, student, or Croton Harmon District resident are prohibited. All comments should be in keeping with Civility Policy 2010 referenced above. Members of the public in attendance at the meeting are expected to remain quiet unless it is their turn to make a comment. The length of each hearing of the public is generally limited to 15 minutes at the discretion of the board president. Since hearing of the public sessions are for comments only, in most cases, the board and/or administration will respond to open issues at a future date. Please visit the Board of Ed section on the CHUFSD website for more information.
Good evening, I'm Michelle Minoff at 17 Langary. I'd like to begin by thanking Superintendent Walker tonight for speaking at a CASA hosted meeting earlier this week. It was a long and difficult discussion that covered challenging topics revolving around anti-Semitism in our district and ended with the hope of a follow-up meeting. There he shared work that he's been leading, showing that the administration is making efforts to demonstrate progress, but we fear that the proposed work will not effectively address the issue of modern day anti-Semitism at CHUFSD. Since the start of this school year, CHUFSD Jewish students have been sharing some of their school experiences with us, that they're singled out as team problems when Jewish high holy days conflict with desired practices, and they're excluded from team celebrations, which are knowingly planned for these days. Assignments are due on the Jewish high holy days, which are days that school is closed, allowing less time to complete these for observant students. Pennies that are tossed at Jewish students as jokes. UTK students are evacuated because of threats to the synagogue that houses them. Swastikas are scrawled in bathrooms and on water fountains. Students are told to wear gold stars by their classmates, but again, they're just kidding. These incidents, like the complicated and hurtful culture night of May 2024, escape every parent's notification and all other school communications to the community. When reported to the administration, the responses are uneven if they happen. For months, families who have come to be part of PASA have been sharing incidents and concerns around anti-Semitism with CHUFSD's superintendent, assistant superintendent, principals, and teachers. It's typical that the concern is met with an openness to listen, but other times they're brushed off or met with no response at all. Sometimes past reported incidents have gone missing, so trends and patterns can't be easily detected. When the administration occasionally meets with community members in person, it is in situations that are not kept officially on record. PASA sees the administration focus on listening but not taking serious action, lack of transparency in tracking and sharing the incidents with the community, and reluctance to address the issues systemically, and the aversion to the outright naming of anti-Semitism as serious concerns that impact the social and emotional well-being of all students. We again implore you to consider possible detailed recommendations and deliver a plan that educates the district and puts students first.
Good evening. My name is Kathy Look and I live at 52 Beekman Avenue. I have 2 children in the district, a daughter at the high school and a son at PVC. I am here tonight to address the girls volleyball program at the high school, which is toxic and detrimental to the well-being of our student athletes. As a point of reference, last year, 2 separate families complained of the emotional damage their daughters suffered as part of this program. School and district administrators were contacted. And after a very cursory investigation, which to my knowledge was not documented or recorded, the district deemed that no personnel changes to the team were necessary. And this fall season began under the same leadership. In October, 7 varsity volleyball parents signed a letter which was sent to the athletic director, the high school principal, the superintendent, and to you, the Board of Education. In this letter, many of the same claims were made regarding the environment that players are subject to, and we urged our new athletic director to once again investigate. 2 families were so distressed that they filed DASA reports. As of tonight, no changes have been made to the program. And we as parents are faced with the reality that this district, which purports to place such high value on the social emotional needs of its students, is failing to protect our volleyball athletes. The mental and emotional health of our athletes has been placed secondary to preserving the status quo of what has been for many seasons a failing team. The lack of action by this district has shown us that the voices and feelings of our children, as well as us as parents, do not matter to you. We as parents entrust adults in this district with the education and care of our children, and we expect that our children will be treated with the same dignity and respect that they are expected to exhibit to their teachers, coaches, and fellow students. Furthermore, it is a widely accepted norm that adults working with children should be held to a higher standard, given the power differential that exists. The district's continued acceptance of the harms caused by its coaches leads us to conclude that there is no such higher standard in Croton. I ask all of you what you would do if your daughter was faced with a choice to either quit playing the sport that she loves or continue to play under the direction of a coach that has repeatedly made her feel bullied, confused, and unworthy. Is this really what school can be?
I'm Jeremy Pollock and I'm a junior and president of my grade. I'm here because I attended the PASA meeting on Monday. I would just like to speak from a student's perspective that it would go a long way if the board and administration would acknowledge some of the requests of the members of PASA. An official acknowledgement of the definition of anti-Semitism would allow for a common understanding of the issue in the case staff or anyone else needs somewhere to look into. I heard what was said in terms of the administration taking the stance not to publicly acknowledge the incident that occurred at Cultural Night. But I think that this could possibly be beneficial as by stating that you could take steps to ensure that something like this does not happen again in the future. I feel strongly by doing something along these lines, this will help members of the Jewish community feel as though they're not being ignored. I also just want to make this as unrelated, but I want to make you aware as an administration that just a couple of hours ago, a group of lowerclassmen students posted on social media a petition to alter the school schedule. And they said that they feel as though it does not protect academic integrity. And it's already gaining traction on social media. So I just think this is something that's important for you all to be aware of. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Bill Riley, Bill Riley. I do compliment the school district, especially CET, on the ceremony they had on Veterans Day. I know that both the active duty soldiers and the veterans were there, appreciated everything the school did. It's headed by one particular teacher. I must have very good connections at West Point because you don't get the honor guard or the commander of the hospital going down at the drop of a hat. It's much appreciated. I think the kids enjoyed it, and certainly the veterans and active duty soldiers appreciated it. So my hats off to the school district, the principal, and all those concerned. Regarding volleyball, I hope remedy the situation on the volleyball team, because Croton Harmon has been historically for decades a powerhouse in volleyball, especially girls volleyball, especially girls or boys volleyball. Having a championship volleyball player myself, my family, also a coach, which brings up the point. The state of New York is about to implement boys playing in girls sports, but they stopped short the State Board of Education, Department of Education, because of the election coming. In the sport of volleyball, it came home why girls should be playing girls sports. When you see the video, which I'm going to send you, of this particular player on San Jose State, which went to the championship, but because half the other teams forfeited, didn't want to play this male player, smashing a shot into the face of a female volleyball player. To watch that and watch her fall on the floor and go down, you can understand what's happening when they put boys and girls basketball, like in Massachusetts, and a girl breaks her leg. So the state was about to do this, and I know you got pushback, but you never talk about it, probably, because you go to all these state meetings and so forth. Thankfully, that was stayed, but I believe, like the state of California, the Department of Education state is just radical enough to push this stuff through. And you're the last protection we have and our children have against this type of stupidity. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Erica Loudon. I live on Penfield Avenue. I also have my son involved in here.
I wanted to just talk about an experience my son had. He's in the 8th grade at PVC. And I'm Jewish and my son is Jewish and he recently read about refugee. And he was asked to go into a breakout group and compare the experience of the 2015 Syrian refugee crisis with the
1930s.
1930s Jewish refugee crisis where Jews were trying to escape Nazi Europe, whether it be Germany or countries that have been conquered by the Nazi regime. And in that breakout group, he experienced a lot of pushback that it was, no, it's exactly the same. Jews had the same exact experience. They were just fleeing a civil war, and he had to kind of try to explain that. He actually had family members that were in concentration camps in Latvia that had very different experiences. It was not a civil war. They were selected and they were put into camps. If they were able to work, they stayed alive. If not, they were exterminated. That was a process called selection. If you read Eli Wiesel's Night, you will learn about that, going through selection and extermination, or actually being able to continue to actually work in camps. Later on, after the workout group, my son was given a yellow star, a big one, and said that this will help you connect to your culture. And I think he was a bit shocked, like, what do you mean? Like, this is gonna help me? Like, do you want me to wear this on my arm and walk around like my family did in Nazi Europe? What are you kidding me? And so I think maybe there's just a lot of kids that just don't understand what's going on today after October 7th, what's going on with the history of Judea, the history of Palestine, and there's just a lot of confusion. Do you want to have anything to say?
Yeah, I just would like there could be awareness about, things that could possibly be offensive.
Thank you so much.
Anyone else?
Hi, my name is Tati Wilbur, I live in 13 Cleveland Drive. I just wanted to say that I'm here to support the Parents Against Anti-Semitism message.
Hi, Justine DeLeon, 121 Alcott Avenue, and I'm also here to support PASA and ask the Board of Education to take up the requests that the PASA has made. Thank you. Hi, Alyssa Holzman, 218 Richmond Hills Road. Both my kids went through Croton. They're graduated, they've been gone for a few years. I've been to lots of these meetings, been on lots of different teams and groups and boards and things like that. I have to say, I'm so disappointed. I am so disappointed to hear similar stories that we were dealing with years ago. I don't know where the protection is for the kids. It's this from sports to the religion to the bullying. It's been an ongoing conversation for so long, and I'm really sad that I hope it can get better.
And I live at 14 Palmer Avenue. I've been involved in PASA since the beginning, and I'm here to support. And also just think it's an incredibly important and crucial time to focus on the issues that are brought before you. I thank you for taking them seriously, as you would any other group that came here, and that we're at a crossroads, and I hope that this village continues to sort of take the time so we can have this important conversation and get through to the other side in a way that's supportive of all of our groups that are feeling that they need more support and they need to be listened to and taken seriously. So thank you for doing that.
Hi, I'm Leah Eisen, 8 Giglio Court in Croton. I just also am here to support CASA, and I just urge you to follow all of their recommendations, because it just breaks my heart what's happening in the community. To a lot of different uses. Thank you.
Hey, Jim Kramer from Tech 17 Glengarry, here to show my support for PASA. Just something I'm really afraid of, it's a national trend for sure, that people seem to think that Jews can't be harmed in certain ways by wrongs, and I don't get into exactly why. Scares the hell out of me. I've heard a story from, I think it was, I don't know when it exactly was, a couple years ago, a few years ago, there was somebody who purported to be an advisor for DEI programs, said that the attack on the Tree of Life, or in Pittsburgh, or worshipers were murdered, Jewish worshipers was not a hate crime, and that happened in Croton. It was not spoken out against, from my understanding of it. Hope I'm wrong there, but that's what I heard. I feel like the problem is we just need to know that things are being done. That if there's a wrong, that the parents of the child meets with school administrators, they come to share an understanding of what happened. The administrator says, this is what I will do to work with that, to talk to that teacher, student, coach, whoever, to make sure they understand the wrong, that they do it, and then that there's follow-up, so the parent gets some understanding that this happened. That the administrator says, I spoke with this person, we don't need a transcript of what happened, we just need some meaningful reassurance that something was done. To follow up, but we have to assume that nothing was done, and I fear that a lot of times nothing has been done. Thanks.
Hi, I am Vanessa Sudnick. I live at 26 Finney Farm Road here in Croton, and I have 2 children in the district. I have a senior and I have an 8th grader. And I'm just here to support CASA, and I've been with the group for a while, and I just I hope that you all will hear the group's suggestions and follow through with their suggestions, and I'm just here to show support for the group. Thank you so much. Is there anyone else?
So I'm Dean Wardell, I live in Glengarry Road. Here also to show my support for PASA and to say that I hope you are listening to what they have to say and taking the recommendations seriously. Thank you.
So I want to thank you all for taking the time and coming and speaking publicly at this meeting. Thank you all. Moving on to. Thank you. Challenging times. Thank you all. Moving on to item 2.3, superintendent's report.
Thank you, Anna. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here, and for everyone who's watching at home. As Anna referenced, this is our last regular meeting of 2024, and so it's a pleasure to get a chance to close out the year with sharing some of the things that have been happening in our school, celebrating students since the last time we were together in this space with this presentation. So I wanted to begin by mentioning again Isabel and the entire cast and crew involved in High School Musical. The performance was endearing, perfect, energetic. It was a great Friday night, getting a chance to watch you and the team share your talents. So congratulations again to you, to Ms. O'Brien, to Mr. Katzman, to everyone involved, particularly when considering that this was a road show. I thank our colleagues at HenHUD for hosting us while our auditorium renovations continue and near completion. So congratulations again. Great play. Also want to thank and recognize AD Christine Drago, Carla, and all of the winter coaches, staff, families, and student athletes who attended Meet the Coach Night. This is something that was kind of reinvigorated as a practice last year in the district, and a great way to kind of bring our student athletes and families and coaches together as each season starts. And actually prior to Ms. Drago and the team addressing all the families and student athletes, all of our winter coaches gave up their time to be there to meet with John Tessitore and leadership from the JCK Foundation to talk about the importance of engaging with our student athletes around mental health. So it really was an appropriate, I think, really well-structured experience for our coaches and orienting us in the right way as we begin what will hopefully be a really successful winter season for our Tiger student athletes. So thank you to all of that. Also want to mention I had a chance to spend some time at PVC just before the Thanksgiving holiday, and in a really kind of nice and fun example of faculty bringing students together for a shared experience. Mr. Signo, Mr. Gallagher, and Ms. Ernow brought their classes together to do some design work around what they're calling their Thanksgiving dinner plan criteria. And so students in groups look through various grocery store flyers to design and then implement and present their ideal Thanksgiving dinner under a certain budget. And so there's some really great discussions among the students about priorities, about certainly the mathematics, about sale prices, taxes, and some really interesting discussion around charcuterie boards and chicken wings and some other really good sixth grade culinary fun conversations. So thank you to all of them for the chance to be present for that. We had some good laughs before the Thanksgiving holiday. Also had a chance that day, along with many other members of the administrative team, to visit Ms. Damasio's Aspire class at PVC. As the board will remember, Ms. Damasio was here last month as part of the work session, sharing the phenomenal work that goes on with so many exceptional children in that class. And so we had a chance to view their performance of the Great Turkey Mix-Up, which was really beautifully put together, and some perhaps future actors and actresses in that room that morning. So thank you to Ms. Damasio and her whole class for some great smiles. Also want to mention some really good work being done at CET with some Thanksgiving projects, not only in second grade, the Pasquarelli Banis class putting together a pretty neat Thanksgiving Day parade video. Also in third grade, the Balloons Over Broadway project. I picked out a couple here that I thought were great. Of course, Dancing Snoopy always is popular. And for me, the French Bulldog float was the winner. So thank you to Emily and Alyssa and all of the teachers for bringing some to our faces when we visited CBT last week.
Sorry about that. Let's go.
Thanksgiving parade music. Like it. Also had a chance to take part in what is a wonderful tradition among the staff of the Transportation Depot, hosted by Joe Bernardi and the team, the administrative team, along with members of the board. Got a chance to spend some time with that group up there as part of their annual Thanksgiving potluck. That's really one of the special days on the calendar for us, to get a chance to be together with them, to celebrate as a family, and to wish each other a wonderful Thanksgiving. So thank you to Joe and all the team up at the Transportation Center for giving us that great memory as well. Also had a chance with the administrative team earlier this week to do some more extensive learning walks through CET, and just really tremendous and inspired and engaging teaching and learning happening all over that building. I couldn't be happier with what's happening at CET under Carrie and Craig's leadership and a phenomenal faculty. One really neat project I just wanted to make mention of, because I think it speaks to the student engagement, was the Draw Your Dream House project. This is fourth grade, so dealing with area and perimeter. And so students then, of course, engage in building, designing, measuring out their own dream houses. But the really neat part was, and that was shared with us by the faculty, that the students were so engaged in it, they didn't want to stop when the project was over. They came back to the faculty and said, we want to present this in a different way. Can we act like we're real estate agents and design presentations to help to market our own houses that we design? That again just gives that, kind of fills our hearts around the level of engagement and interest from our students in the learning that they're participating in. So great job by those students, of course, and also by the faculty. Also had a chance to view the new Tiger Den at CET. One of the things that we know has been trying to one of the things we've been prioritizing is to design spaces that can be used not only for student learning in a collaborative way, but also for adult learning as we continue to expand the pedagogical coaching model. And so Carrie and Craig and the faculty have done a really nice job in designing this new space that now will be part of faculty learning and student learning going forward at CET. And so I want to just make mention and thank everyone who was involved in that design, including Brad Kennedy, of course, and the facilities team. Last night was the college symposium here at the high school. So thank you to Mark Maxim, Kirby Mosenthal, Tanya Thibodeau, Zohar Nadim, and everyone who was a participant in that, all of our college reps. John and I had a chance to attend that together, and I both left having learned a ton frankly, about the college acceptance process, the college application process. Really just in some ways, it's been kind of a black box in terms of how students get admitted, why and why they don't. And I think we all left that night not only impressed with the quality of the presentations, but the engagement of our students, the questions from our students and for their families. So a really important night for everyone who was there. So thank you to everyone who put that together. This morning, Rachel and I had a chance to attend a learning session offered by the Westchester Jewish Council, along with leaders from many other school districts around the county. This isn't our first time with the WJC, but they always do a phenomenal job. We had the chance to learn from a series of presenters, including a partner at FGS Global, Associate Regional Director of the ADL, and the Director of Education at the Holocaust and Human Rights Center. The focus this morning was on how to think through whether and how to address global events within our local school district communities, examples of bias that students will likely encounter in materials that they access online, and sharing the future offerings for learning together. So I want to thank everybody at the WJC and all of our colleagues from around the county and Rachel for being there this morning. Also want to make mention of what has been a long-awaited foundation aid funding formula report from the Rochester Institute of Government. Those who are following kind of the inside baseball of the state budget know that this came out of the budget conversations from last year as a request from the governor. And while the report's recommendations are just that, they're recommendations, they're not binding on the legislature. They do provide quite a series of options in the 314 pages for the legislature to consider. Obviously, of primary interest to us in our district is that concept of reducing the use of safe harmless funding. We're one of 337 safe harmless districts around the state, which is essentially a statutory guarantee of level of funding, even when the funding formula itself calculates an amount less than that for the previous year. And so obviously concern about safe harmless or hold harmless is significant for a lot of districts because it's been relied upon to provide predictability in the budget development process, stability in the budget development process. And so we want to make sure, certainly through advocacy locally and at the state level, that any change in that doesn't result in lack of predictability for us as we build our budgets, or changing school funding from state to local taxpayer burden. So we want to make sure that that's on everybody's radar. I think there are some things that are broadly agreed that are interesting and important, including having the state potentially fully underwrite the cost of the mandated transition to zero emission buses, and creating separate aid categories to address needs involving students with disabilities, as well as other aspects of enrollment growth and shrinkage in various portions of the state. So keep that on your radar. The politics around this will be fascinating over the next few weeks and months. And we know that Denise, of course, will provide us with tremendous vision and leadership again this year in terms of the budget development process. And finally, just want to make mention of something new from a faculty professional learning perspective. The board knows that one of our priorities in entering into contract negotiations with the CTA last year was to look at different ways to provide significant and meaningful professional learning for faculty in a schedule that's already jam-packed with priorities and obligations that they have. So one of the things that the CTA and the district agreed on was the concept of the formation of study groups, which would be faculty facilitated professional learning opportunities where faculty spend time outside of the school day, engaging in research around the specific topic. It's voluntary, and then when faculty complete it at a satisfactory level, they're issued in-service credit. This is something that we haven't seen done in a lot of other districts, but we're rolling it out for the first time, and I'm thrilled. I think we're all thrilled by the quality and the quantity of the ideas that have come from the faculty, including a study group on co-teaching, not just within the general and special education realm, but within interdisciplinary course development, fostering mental toughness, Spanish for educators, mastering data-driven decisions, transforming insights into action. Thank you for that one, Rachel. Understanding AI, K-12 visioning for effective and intentional technology integration, and social and emotional learning integration at the K-12 level. So thank you to many of our faculty who are going to be involved in not only facilitating, but participating, as well as to our administrative team. It's always great to be present for the start of something new. And this is a real moment of opportunity for us to continue to grow as a learning institution, as a faculty. So that's my last report for 2024. Thank you all.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Steve. Moving on to our item 2.4, student ex officio trustee report. Take it away, Isabel.
Hello, everyone. So we have a couple of things going on at CHHS. Starting from an SFC standpoint, we're introducing a new role. It's the PTSA Student Liaison role, which is an opportunity for high school students to participate in and collaborate with CHHS PTSA. There will be 2 elected CHHS PTSA co-directors who are charged with helping the PTSA plan, organize, and facilitate events for the CHHS student body. I believe today the committee of SFC representatives met to choose our 2 representatives, so stay tuned. I will let you know. I'm really excited for this. And then the school counseling department is hosting a free application day with SUNY Westchester Community College on Monday, December 9th at 11 a.m. So students will fill out their application and submit all documentation required to complete their application. And WCC will waive all application fees that day. So if you're interested, you can sign up on Naviance by Friday, December 6th, which is tomorrow. And we have the save the dates for both proms this year. So junior prom will be held at Portland Colonial Restaurant on Friday, March 28th. And senior prom will be held at the Garrison on Thursday, June 12th. And lastly, winter sports have started. And on Monday, our senior athletes got to take their pictures for their posters, which is really exciting. So I'm excited to see that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Isabel. Moving on to item 3, public hearing on the district-wide safety emergency management plan. Item 3.1, recommended action be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby opens the public hearing for the district-wide safety and emergency management plan.
Second.
On the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Item 3.2. Public question and answer period on district-wide safety and emergency management plan. So at this point, the public is invited to approach the podium with any questions you might have regarding the district-wide safety and emergency management plan.
Before we do that, I just think for the benefit of the public, the benefit for those here, we should just say that the board in the spring approved the district-wide safety emergency plan. Subsequent to that adoption, there were certain regulations and additions that requirements that were set forth by state education department. And those changes are incorporated in the document that we are considering and holding a public hearing for today. I suppose, if there are questions, certainly, I think Denise and perhaps others will be able to answer those questions.
So this was put out to a 30-day comment period with a question survey. No questions were given, but this, we're required to put it out to the public for a 30-day comment period. And as Mr. Haber said, the report that came down from the state was very late. So we didn't want to miss the deadline to adopt our plan. So we adopted it as is. And then some of the changes were significant regarding drill notifications to students, staff, and parents. So we wanted to work through that with our building leaders, which we have. And this is the final plan for it. Questions on the part of the board? Item 3.3, adjourn the public hearing on the district-wide safety and emergency management. Recommended action be it resolved, the Board of Education hereby adjourns the public hearing on the district-wide safety and emergency management plan.
So moved.
Second.
On the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Item 3.4, adoption of the revised district-wide safety and emergency management plan and building level emergency response plans. Recommended action, be it resolved, after having given the public an opportunity to be heard at a public hearing, the Board of Education hereby adopts the revised district-wide safety plan and building level emergency response plans. And be it further resolved that the district clerk is directed to file the district-wide safety plan and building level emergency response plans with the Commissioner of Education within 30 days of the adoption, as well as provide a copy to appropriate local law enforcement agencies and the state police.
So moved.
Second.
On the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Moving on to item 4, consent agenda. Item 4.1, recommended action, be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby approves all items in the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
On the question?
You just give us a second.
Question. What is the difference between a rescission and a resignation? We have one item here, which is a rescission, a personnel rescission. I was wondering if you could,
That,
what is the definition of it? Is that one of?
so in that
position
case,
is
that
eliminated?
individual never actually reported to work.
Oh,
And so there was there was no need to resign, there was no work that was performed.
understood.
Or termination, because there's no.
Okay, thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstains? Motion carries. Moving into item 5, the closing of our meeting. We now enter into our second hearing of the public. If anybody would like to address the board, please approach the podium.
Hi, I'm Josh Deutschman, I'm at 14 Palmer Avenue. I guess I'm just concerned, I watched a YouTube video of another board meeting where people were kind of pouring out their hearts and expressing concern for things that were going on in this community. And everyone just sat up here stone-faced without any reply. So I'm wondering if there's gonna be any reaction, because we're sort of a bit of a community in crisis right now. And it just feels very like there's no acknowledgement. And I'm wondering if there's gonna be any sort of response or reaction, or we're just gonna kind of say, no.
Mr. Deutschman, I'll address you, and I'm doing this out of context, because it has been, and I've spoken at different meetings subsequent to that meeting, which I was not present at that meeting, I was out of the country. It has been, and I want to just offer this explanation to you. It has been the practice of this board to not respond to any public comment. And I think my fellow board members didn't feel comfortable deviating from that. So by way of explanation, it's not that we're not hearing you, and it's not that we're not moved, obviously, and concerned. But it's just been the practice of this board to not respond at public meetings to anyone. So I'm sorry, I'm very sorry that it was a hard meeting and that you walked away feeling that way. That's certainly not, I do speak for my colleagues because I know them, that we all do care. So that it was conveyed differently, or that it was, that anybody walked out of the room feeling differently. Everyone in this room cares, I can assure you of that. This community cares about what's happening.
Thank you. It would just be
Sorry.
unfortunate if bureaucracy got in the way of moral imperative.
Agreed,
Because that's what's happened for a long time. It's not had good consequences.
agreed, and I've also spoken publicly about the challenges that that I'm facing as board president in terms of communicating, and I have been paralyzed a little bit in addressing, community members. And that does fall on me, so I apologize for that. And I am working on it, and we are developing, and our communications committee is meeting, we're working to get more information out to the public in terms of the limitations of what this board can do and who you should reach out to specifically within the CHUFSD school district. So we're hearing you, I'm hearing this criticism, or no, not criticism, and I'm very sorry that anybody left the room feeling upset because there wasn't a response, but it doesn't fall on my.
Because part of it would be, part of the message that I heard was, don't think you're so special. That was the message that I heard the other night was, don't think you're so special.
I'm very sorry.
Yeah, that was the message, like, you're not, we can't do too much because, there are other groups of people too. So I think that's something that you need to keep in mind. We're a very vulnerable group of people. So, you need to keep that in mind. It's not playing favorites, it's addressing a very problematic situation that's going on right now. So, thank you.
Thank you for addressing the board.
Thank you. Ed Riley from Truesdale Drive. Got an appropriate point to answer the gentleman's question. Would be the statements at the end of these meetings when public comments, addressing issues. You could address that, you should have addressed that by now. Somehow during the meeting. I understand the willingness not to engage in speakers as they speak. Things can spiral out of control and go beyond the time limits, but the item should have been addressed. Me personally, I continue to worry about your DEI policies and your DEI committee based upon the conduct of the administrations in the past. Several administrations, especially when DEI will cover instructional guidelines, textbook selection, library materials, training, and climate and culture. Given the prevailing culture, political philosophy among the board and the community in general, it's almost certain that there's certain people whose opinions will not be elevated to the level of other opinions. So it's always a concern of mine. Item 2, you use a consent agenda, and unfortunately your policy is spreading. The village board wants to use a consent agenda. At the very least, because we don't generally see the consent agenda. I know it's on the website, go see the website. You should have a huge board here. You should rotate those items through so people can see what you're talking about. So unless somebody memorized the consent agenda, nobody would know what Mr. Diamond, his question was about today, or where the word was. You should show the consent agenda. And the village board has no use of going to a consent agenda. They very have, unless they're creating housing trouble. They never have anybody at their meetings, and their agendas are never more than 1 or 2 pages, 1 page long, 2 sides. So the public should see everything you discuss or don't discuss at every level. So the consent agenda, you don't need all the paper. You can certainly put it up there when you're passing it. Just a recommendation. My second son spent 3.5 years in Iraq. When he came back the second time, he brought his interpreter with him, who was a Shia Muslim. This man was 22 years old. He kept my son alive and his unit alive because he translated for them. In Iraq, where he was, his uncle had to pay for his own bullet when he got shot in the back of the head. But when he wanted to go to a mosque here, he went down to the corner to a doctor who was a Sunni Muslim. Shiites and Sunnis supposed to hate each other. And the two of them went to mosque together. And I urge you, that's the atmosphere that we all should try and create in these schools. and in this community. Whether it be people from Northern Ireland and the Republic or any other zone, that's the atmosphere we should create here.
So anyone else who wishes to address the board? Thank you again to all of our speakers. Moving on to item 5.2, board reports. We'll go in alphabetical order, starting with advocacy.
Thanks, Anna. So I will give the quick summary about our last advocacy committee meeting on November 26th. And Malik and Sarah, please fill in anything I might miss. There were two items on our agenda that we discussed. The first on regionalization and the other on the potential for a cell phone policy at the state level. For folks that don't know what regionalization is, there is a very helpful New York State Education Department segment of the website on regionalization, NYSED.gov/regionalization. And just for the purpose of this description, I'll just quickly read a little bit of the description on the initiative from the website. So the Regionalization Initiative is a collaborative regional planning approach for local districts to communicate what they need in order to ensure equitable educational opportunities for all students, leveraging the state's existing capabilities, talent, and infrastructure. By engaging in regional conversations, schools and districts may identify, explore, and choose whether to pursue a variety of possible solutions to the academic and operational challenges they face by tapping into the full span of resources that already exist in their larger region. We are, well, one of the main topics of conversation in our advocacy committee meeting was really just trying to get a little bit more clarity on the regionalization initiative. Specifically, a couple of points. One on understanding cost structures of regionalization, right? Assuming that, from the premise that sharing of resources and collaboration, at least collaboration is, could be a good thing, but really trying to get some more detail as to how sharing of resources might work, what are the different ideas out there. And then there's a central question around whether regionalization was actually an opt-in or opt-out structure or more of a requirement for districts to engage in, which at the time of our meeting was less clear. There was a lot of kind of back and forth, Westput, NYSBA, with sort of lack of clarity, conversations about the lack of clarity on that point in particular. So we discussed that and we sort of looked through materials subsequent to our meeting. Betty Rosa, the commissioner of NYSED, actually issued a memo that clarified that that the section, talking about regionalization would actually be revised to be very clear about the voluntary nature of regionalization. So, that happened again after the meeting, but that seems to be, I think that memo is helpful in providing clarity for us all as we're thinking about regionalization and taking part and how we take part in regionalization going forward. We committed to making sure that the full board has information on regionalization. So we'll be sending, we'll send the link to the website, but there's other materials that NYSED and others have issued with regard to regionalization, the description on the initiative. So we'll send that out. Let's see, and then aside from regionalization, the last piece that we talked is one of two pieces. The second piece was the cell phone policy. This is state level potential policy that might come from governing use of cell phones in schools. We just sort of talked about the need to stay aware as the session starts about what the conversations are around cell phone policies, and talked about some of the benefits to districts, like ours, in having a cell phone policy that makes sense for the local school and the school districts, right? Given that various school districts have different needs, imperatives, ways to implement, et cetera. So no kind of solidity there. Obviously, there's no actual legislation to look at, but we, as an advocacy committee, want to remain in the loop and understanding what is being talked about at the state level. And then once we have some more concreteness weighing in as the advocacy committee to the state. And then also a willingness to get input from the full board on this issue as well. So those were the main 2 points. Sarah, Monica, you want to add anything?
No, I think that was discussed. Questions?
I do have one question or consideration, which is I saw the letter from Commissioner Rosa that you referenced there. And the letter, first off, it's always been my understanding that once the regionalization discussion within your region concludes, there is no mandatory obligation for any district to implement what that discussion may bring out. But her letter, sent on November 26th, which Ms. Buzz forwarded the link, says that the boards, that the regulations that are going to be determined at the December meeting of the Board of Regents will include a section that says that school boards and districts, or districts in consultation with their school boards, may elect not to participate in the regionalization planning process. Meaning we're not even going to be part of the conversation by submitting written notification, presumably to the commissioner, by January 15th, 2025. So my feeling is that yes, it'd be on the agenda, that January agenda, right, items for the next meeting, and we decide with recommendation from the administration whether we should be part of that planning process, regardless of the fact that implementation of any particular recommendation that comes out of that planning process is not mandatory. So I just want to let everybody know that's what I'm hoping we will think about. Look at the material that you'll send us to see what it's all about, and then decide if we want to be part of it. I will add that as a representative on the Putnam Northern Westchester BOCES board, BOCES is kind of the coordinator of this, so I know that BOCES has the obligation to run the process with whoever wishes to participate. My discussion here will basically be, and only be, on what is best for this district.
Thanks, Neil.
So per Sarah's suggestion, that'll be on the agenda in the January meeting. We'll have to consider and discuss. That it?
That's it?
Thank you so much. Audit?
Audit isn't scheduled to meet till early in the spring.
Yeah, we're actually gonna meet January 23rd.
Early in the spring.
We're gonna meet February 23rd.
Do we have a time for that yet?
6:30.
Okay.
Adding it to the calendar right there.
You should have it in your.
Oh, you know what I do? What do you know?
Moving on to board development.
Board development is scheduled, or is shortly about to be scheduled to meet on next Thursday, the 12th, for our next meeting, so no reports yet. We'll have one by January.
Can I just ask, is the next meeting Are you planning on having it centered around developing board goals?
Well, it is on our agenda to sort of discuss what our process is gonna be for doing that and sort of how we want to frame it, and we will bring the discussion of, obviously, it's like we're at the end of 2024. It feels like a little bit later than it should be for us to start this conversation, but we still have the rest of this school year and the rest of this term until the end of June to set some formal goals and try to work towards them. So that'll be coming to the full board for discussion. Those aren't going to be developed just in committee, but we're going to talk a little bit about the process.
That it?
Yep.
Thank you. Communications?
It's gonna be fairly similar. Yeah, the end of November kind of crept up, I think, on all of us. So we have not met since our last update that I did on communications, but our next meeting is scheduled for December 11th at 5:30 p.m. So we will be continuing our discussions there on meet the baby processes and just general communication processes, ways to improve that. So stay tuned to the January report.
Policy?
Policy.
I know.
Policy has not been in the last month. We have a meeting that has been
The
scheduled
17th, yeah.
on the 17th. At 5:30, we will be reviewing expecting certain finance and business office related policies that are in the hopper, as well as other policies that we need to take care of. And we'll also add that the ad hoc committee, I noticed the agenda says ad hoc committee on facilities use, which really that ad hoc committee.
Well, I was gonna address that next when I called that.
Okay,
Yeah.
fine, but the ad hoc committee to discuss the social media policy and policy 0105 is scheduled to meet on December 20th at 7:30 a.m. An hour that I can probably never see in my life, to further work on it. And I will say 7:30 a.m. because certain of the committee members said they're available early mornings. And then administration said, oh, well, early morning means like before dawn.
Well,
We're
consider
celebrating
that
winter solstice.
the solstice is the next day.
Yes,
so-
and
Days are gonna
actually-
start getting longer.
We're almost over the hump.
Actually, the sunrise that day is 7:17.
There it is.
So we will,
We'll be meeting in the dark.
Are you just gonna stay up all night?
no, actually, we had a meeting the night before, so I'm thinking what I'm gonna do is just fall asleep. on
Just stay
the board
into
for
the
the
district
meeting
office.
for the meeting.
Yeah.
And again, the ad hoc committee on facilities use is in the public content listed as a committee, but at our reorganization meeting, was it at our first policy meeting, we decided to fold that, given the two members of that previous committee are now on the actual policy committee into the policy committee. Okay, so that will bring us to item 5.3, polling of the board. Anybody have anything for polling?
I'll start with the name first. The PVC council met this afternoon, discussion centered on thinking about making changes in the format and or timing of back to school night at PVC to increase, I guess, participation and connection between staff and parents, and to minimize what some have said is kind of the not particularly useful gathering of everybody in the PVC gym where people talk at them when the parents really want to see what their students are doing. So that's something that will be addressed later on in the school year so that the change, whatever that will be made to be in place in September 2025. The other thing I was gonna mention, and I'll just mention it briefly, because I think Sarah and may want to speak to this as well. Last month, and I don't remember the exact date, we went to the Westchester Putnam School Board Association regional dinner along with the Rockland and Dutchess school boards. And the speaker there was Michael Rebel from the Committee on Financial Fiscal Equity, who spoke about the foundation in upcoming report, because it had not been issued until a couple of days ago, and his history, because he's somebody who had been involved in school finance and school funding litigation for 30 or more years, and his feeling about what this report might include. He thought it would just be kind of some minor tweaks, and I think you will be surprised, pleasantly or otherwise, that it's really, as Superintendent Walker said, a much more comprehensive discussion of school funding. So I think we learned a lot from that exchange with the moderator, and it was one of the things that I found very, very helpful as we go forward. I may have other things I can't think of at the moment, so.
Just a quick addition to the building planning council meeting at PVC, which I think two things that one was the parent learning walks and the fact that they are still happening at PVC, which is great. And we talked a little bit about how best to get the word out on those learning walks, because it seems, and I've been to them, they're very valuable to understand what's going on at the school, visiting classrooms, et cetera. And apparently they do groups of 12, so and there's a Google form that exists to sign up for those walks. So just wanted to get that word out there, because I know that sometimes the notifications get buried. We talked a little bit about how to better get the word out about those learning walks, but I thought folks would be interested in that. And then apparently there's a dance happening at the end of January, which my daughter didn't tell me about.
I
would just add that the learning walks that were done at PVC for parents they're talking about January 1 session and February 1 session. I would guess that if there was a lot of interest, there might be, administration and school might be persuaded to do it.
So I'm gonna chime in, having been a former member of PVC's Building Planning Council, and I would have said this if I was still there. Part of the problem is the name. What is a learning walk? That doesn't sound like a thing I want to do. Honestly, it's like, what it is it's a tour of your kid's school while class is in session. And I feel like part of the disconnect is that the title, learning walk, doesn't necessarily make it sound like a thing that you want to go to. Because it's like learning and walking. I don't know, maybe it's just me. Like, I would like to go to a tour of my kid's school during the school day. I have been on a number of learning walks. I think they're really fun. But I think one of the disconnects is that name is honestly making it like a little bit hard to know what it's about. So please take that back to PVC.
Yeah, I would add for those who are watching that, as it was described, and as we know that when we've done learning walks as board members in various schools, it's not just go see classroom. It's go through a number of classrooms guided by administration of the school, at which the parents will be asked to observe, to see what, to notice what they see in relation to our instructional objectives, and then we'll debrief. What did you see in the classroom? What did you think was good? What did you think was not good? How does this tie into what we as a district are trying to accomplish? So it's not, we understand, and perhaps the title is not the best. Maybe the description, maybe in that invitation, right here, would be a description of what a learning walk actually is, rather than, so that people know that's what you'll be doing and that's what you'll be focusing on.
Right, I said it very directly, I think what it is that sometimes the lingo that we're used to
Sure.
using can sometimes like not make a connection to people in the community who are not used to, and of course, the way that I present that is not always constructive, but it was intended as constructive, so I want you to think about how we're talking about these
Yes,
things.
and I think it's a good idea.
Because actually, Sarah and I went on an incredible learning walk at the high school a couple weeks ago. Were you gonna talk about that?
I was gonna touch on it, thank you, but
No.
yes, as Anamika mentioned, we had an opportunity to go on a learning walk at the high school. And really, this was actually a little bit different than some of the ones that I've been on in the past, in that we went to fewer classrooms, but spent more time in those classrooms, really getting to observe the new interdisciplinary classes in action, which was really exciting to see the way that our teachers are co-teaching in these classrooms and really creating great experiences for our students, and also the level of engagement of our students in really probing questions and really having these great in-depth discussions. So that was exciting for me. It left me with a really, I was really happy about the way that we're moving forward with these interdisciplinary classes. So that was exciting.
Yeah, I would chime in just to say the same, which is what was particularly unique about this opportunity to go into the schools is we weren't just racing from classroom to classroom. So we were really in the classroom for a good chunk of time and had an opportunity both to see sort of like active instruction and then also group work and sort of, listening in sort of like a fly on the wall at students as they were interacting and working with each other. They also did invite us to come and like sit down and offer our, perspective on questions of bioethics, which was like a really tough conversation, I think, to be part of. It's not something I'm thinking about every day. It's like, and I think so what was really interesting was to see the interplay between sort of the science aspect, the humanities aspect, and that interdisciplinary course. There was another interdisciplinary course that we heard about at our work session a couple of weeks ago, which I think also gave us an opportunity to see that that the district is thinking about interdisciplinary classes for all students. So this was a course that was that had a that was like specifically, I guess, for our special education students. And I think, again, for them to sort of have the access to the same sort of course offerings that we're offering across the board was really important to see. And there was a high level of engagement. It was a really fun class to actually participate in. So I thought it was really, really great to have that in-depth opportunity. And I think, again, it's like, I'm hoping that this is something that the high school will also consider, is actually opening up this idea of having these daytime tours of your students' experiences. I'm not gonna call it a learning walk anymore, at the high school as well, so people can actually have an opportunity to come into the classroom. This is something that the community, I think, has been asking for. We've been hearing from families that they'd like to know what's going on. This is a great way to do it. And I commend PVC for sort of taking the lead on this and making it an opportunity that's available for parents. I'd like to see more of it across all our buildings.
A couple other things for point. So on Monday, Westcott had our legislative action committee meeting. So that was our final meeting to finalize and solidify our legislative priorities for the 2024-25 school year. So be on the lookout for those. They will be coming out soon. Now, initially, there had been an LHEC legislative panel scheduled for December 9th that, due to some scheduling conflicts with many of our legislators, was not able to happen. So instead of having both an LHEC legislative panel and a Westcott legislative panel, we decided that we would cede the Westcott panel to LHEC. So January 30th will be the annual legislative forum, and so that will include not just Putnam and Westchester counties, but also Dutchess, Rockland, and Orange county legislators. So it is a Zoom meeting, and we actually do find that there's a much higher level of engagement from our legislators who are able to join that when it is done on Zoom. So we'll have those meetings so people will be able to ask questions, hear from legislators, really put forth what our thoughts and concerns are in terms of advocacy ahead of, well, not ahead of, the governor will have hopefully released her budget by then. And so we'll be able to advocate on behalf of our districts for the upcoming budget.
So we expect the budget in early January, and then Westcott will also start scheduling individual legislator meetings with each of the districts. So that will go out so that a board representative and the superintendent are able to meet with our legislators. So with Van Levenberg and with Peter Harko. So those things are all coming. There's a lot going on. As Superintendent Walker mentioned, the foundation aid study was released. There's a lot of information in those 314 pages. And again, they are all recommendations. So I think right now everybody is really, I'm sure Denise, I'm looking at Denise and is like, I'm sure there's a lot to digest and a lot to get through as to what those recommendations might mean. And I think they were, the Foundation Rockefeller Center Institute was clear in that, they looked at each of these recommendations sort of in isolation and not what the impact would be of multiple of these recommendations. So it's hard to see what the impact would be on a district to district basis if all of them or some of them, were implemented. So that I think you'll be hearing probably a lot more from LAGC and from NISCUS and from the Lower Hudson Council of School Superintendents on where some of those things are. What are the positive things? As Superintendent Walker mentioned, it was great to see that they advocated in the report for the full underwriting of the transition to zero emission buses. But there were other things in those recommendations that were not maybe, would not be as beneficial for our district. So I think that's something for all of us to stay on top of as the budget comes out and as we hear what the governor will be coming down with. I will note there are a couple of upcoming, if you take a look at this week's Westcott email that just came out earlier today, the weekly chalkboard, there are some interesting things. So there's, there's board officers, affinity group meetings, and they do have a link to, and also a podcast on the foundation aid study that is not, it's only 20 minutes long. So it might be a good listen to sort of give a good overview of what those recommendations were. And that is really all that.
Nope, you went, sorry. Just kidding. Go ahead.
No, there is one thing Westcott related that, I guess.
I forgot.
You forgot. On
Yeah,
November
it's a lot.
25th, Westcott conducted a community conversation
Oh, yes.
on which I can talk about it. You
Go,
can.
go for it.
It basically was to discuss social media use by boards, social media relationships, what people what people in various boards saw with respect to comments in social media and how they responded to them, the kinds of things that are, I will say, it shouldn't be a surprise, are part of the consideration and discussion of the ad hoc committee and crafting a social media policy. And so it was very interesting and useful. And it was interesting to hear different board members from different boards that have different issues and things that come up, and therefore how, we might, take what we learned.
To be clear, just to interrupt you, more often than not, it's on. More often than not, whenever I see anything come out about social media use, it's when there's an official account on behalf of like the board, or when there's an official account on behalf of like an individual trustee who is putting themselves out there. It's like, Superintendent Walker's social media, super, I can't think of what it is, trustee super, like it's his official capacity. His professional, not, so I'm just, for clarification, when they have these conversations, it's not about personal or individual use of social media.
Right, right, but I will say, part of what was discussed was what, it's kind of the thing that you mentioned in responding to Member Poe. What do you do when you see things that are school related that are out there by individuals in social media? What do you do in terms of observing them, and then as a board, consider how you will work that into your communications? you know, whatever issues may be out there, whatever, you know. How do you learn about community sentiment from what might be posted by others? And that was kind of part of the discussion, just of, you know, kind of a roundtable among board members about what's happening in their communities.
I believe a review, like a recap of it was sent out by Westman, so you'll be able to see a recap. of
That's
that
what I saw, yeah,
conversation.
that's actually what I saw.
Although I will say the recap was more of a synopsis of what their kind of survey showed. They didn't really, I don't think, capture so much in that recap what the tenor of the discussion was among the participants, at least as I read it. But moving on, Health and Safety Committee. Health and Safety Committee on 20, not the 15th, did a walkthrough of the new video production facility. It was not 100% done because there was still painting some minor tweaks. My understanding is that it was completed over the Thanksgiving break and is fully operational as of this week. So we are meeting again on December 16th. That will be a regular meeting of the committee. We're not gonna, I don't think, according to Brad Kennedy, that we're gonna be doing the tours, although I'm sure we will be discussing the progress on high school auditorium and other facilities. One of the things, by the way, that was mentioned at PBC, Building Planning Council, Michael Plotkin talked about the things that are happening to get to completion with certain of the projects that are at PBC, including the guidance suite and some other things. So things are moving along, and I know Superintendent Walker sent out a community message a few days ago, talking about them and, you know, what we will hope to see in the future. And last but not least, on the sometime, I have to find the date, but there will be a meeting of the people who here it is on December 12th. Commissioner Betty Rosa will be coming to this part of the world. He will be visiting the Northern Westchester BOCES facilities to do a tour with administration there. And then that afternoon, she will be holding a town hall with members of administration, superintendents, et cetera, from the entire region, not just Putnam or Westchester, but Rockland, Dutchess, et cetera, and Southern Westchester as well, and board members. I'll be attending as, you know, since it's at Putnam, Northern Westchester. I don't know who from our district has signed up. I know they said they have over 200 people already signed up to hear what she has to say.
Determination, right? I believe 3 board members are allowed to attend.
I
think we need to make a
They
determination.
said it was 3.
But we haven't got, weren't we supposed to get some information about that to us, right? We haven't
I
got.
thought we got the,
What did, maybe I
we
missed
got
it.
the sign up.
Oh, okay. well,
But we need to decide, I think, as a board, who those 3 people are going to be.
If it'll be 3 people.
Want to decide now?
I will be there anyway, but I'm there, doesn't matter, you know, we have
Correct.
3 others, but it's just gonna be very.
It'll be
fast.
at 3 p.m. on December 12th.
I missed this item. Can someone just let me know who would that
Yeah,
be from?
either, I'll be honest with you.
Cause I think we were told that we were gonna be getting it, but I don't know if I missed it, who it was from. Do other people have
Let
it?
me see. Sorry, I thought it might be that we got a response from the advocacy group. I think we got that response back.
Because we had talked
Because
amongst
we had gotten-
ourselves that we would determine who should attend.
When did that come in?
No, it hasn't, like, we haven't gotten it, we just discussed it at advocacy that we needed to determine who would be able to attend. I don't think we got an actual.
Right, I think, I believe that when Theo had asked the question to Denise, she had forwarded on the information. No, actually, it was.
I think it was to pay, I forwarded.
It was Steve who forwarded it on. So here, let me forward it. Well, but yeah, you should have that, Anamika on the 26th.
Yeah.
Thank you,
yes. Oh, yeah. So then, okay, so just to be clear.
So, yeah.
You asked Steve forwarded it on to the advocacy committee, so the three of you had that, and you're now asking of the entire board who's going to attend this?
Right, we had gotten information, I think, to the full board. Neil had sent the information out that this meeting was happening. And then it was more, we just needed to see who would attend.
When did you send that email, Neil?
When did I
Like
send
back in
that?
the middle of November, but
Yeah.
that was before we had the invitation, and I'm sorry, I think I just missed this because I think. I don't
Because we
know.
get 700 emails a day.
No, I know, and
No, I don't know if they sent the actual, I think.
He
it
did
said-
not, he just
I
said that
sent
it would be
I said,
forthcoming,
this
because
is
that was through
happening,
Westcott,
something's gonna be
through BOCES, it wasn't through our board.
Okay, so now we know, we need 3 people to go, Neil is already gonna be there, so do we want to send 2 more people or 1 more? Or 3 people, and then let Neil be there on behalf of his BOCES.
Right, Neil is there on behalf of the BOCES board.
Yeah, well, it's not even half, it's really, there's gonna be talking, big questions, the more the merrier, as long as you don't mind being in a rather crowded gym, because there will be 200+ people there.
Right. So going forward, it's like one of the things we should do is make sure, thank you, Sarah, you just shared it out to everybody, but it's like we should be sharing these things out to the full board because it's an invitation, right, to the full board. Steve, maybe I missed it, it was in one of your weeklies to us, this information also? Because I think we mentioned that it was gonna go
I
in the
mentioned it
weekly.
was coming.
Yeah.
I forwarded just to the board members who had asked me for it. Yeah.
Right, yeah, I think that's why I didn't pay attention to it honestly, because I thought I would see it again in the weekly, so maybe I missed that.
So does anybody wanna go?
I can't now, it turns out. I think we had originally talked about possibly trying to, because it is like an advocacy opportunity, and there's some specific connection. That's why we had started discussing it there, but it turns out I now can't be available that date, so I'm opting out.
12, Thursday.
Thursday next
12,
week, yeah.
At 3 p.m.
I will
Although
not be there.
they suggest get there early
Right.
because parking will be tough, and,
Yeah.
Right.
and et cetera, so.
I can do it. Can. You can? Yes, I can.
I can.
Great. Thank you.
So somebody send me the form, we've got the form now?
Sarah just sent it to us. Thank you, Sarah.
No problem.
Yeah, sorry, it's like, I will say, it's like I miss things when. Sometimes I miss things, so I'm sorry I missed that too.
Everybody.
Is there anyone else for the board?
I'm sorry. Do you have anything to report?
Do I have anything to report?
I'm just asking, otherwise I will go.
No.
Okay, great. Well, I just wanted to, I'm just gonna report that on Monday night, I had the pleasure of attending a community meeting organized by Parents Against School Anti-Semitism, at which Superintendent Walker was also present, Anna was also present. And from my perspective, it was a good opportunity to be able to hear directly from members of the community about some of the concerns that we've been hearing here at Hearing of the Public over the last several weeks, as well as through letters and correspondence directly to the board and to the district. So I just wanted to mention that I appreciated the opportunity to hear directly from community members, be able to answer questions and engage, and really focus in on some of these issues that have been coming up in our community. And my hope is that this is going to continue to be a conversation ongoing, and that we will be able to move the conversation forward so that all of our students do feel safe, respected, and able to be their true selves in our schools. It's really important to all of us as a board. And again, I'm just grateful to the community members who invited us to participate in that conversation, to allow us to be in the room and to hear from them directly on that issue. So thank you.
Thank you. Anything? I do not have anything there.
We're gonna move on to items needed for the next Board of Education meeting. The next meeting of the Board of Education will be our work session on tenure and probationary review at 7 p.m. That is held at the DO. That is closed to the public. I will be bringing candidates.
And Neil, a sleeping bag.
Yes. This brings us to the closed board meeting. Item 10.5, adjournment, recommended action, be it resolved, the Board of Education hereby adjourns the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Any question? All in favor?
Aye.
Abstained, motion carries. Meeting closes at 9:03 p.m.